Hey everybody, it's Elaine here with my part two for my Unison League 7th ring review of the abilities and first impressions. If you haven't already, please watch part one, which is already up on the channel, and let's just jump right back into things.
Moving right along to the Archer. Now the Master Archer, first ability is something called Quick Trick, which has no cooldown, pretty boss, and then a cost of 7, which is pretty low, so that's pretty great. So this Archer exclusive ability targets one enemy. It deals physical damage 2 times with an ability power of 60 and success value of 70. Deals magic damage 2 times with an ability power of 60 and success value of 70. Increases your attack ability accuracy by 10% for 10 seconds. So this is something I'm actually using on my Archer account just because it's like really quick and doesn't really cost much. And I can just like use it over and over. But again, that's really the main benefit. This doesn't do a lot of damage just because even though it's hitting multiple times, it does have a very low ability power and a 30% chance of missing, and also it's not doing any sort of penetrating of invulnerability and any sort of effects like that. But it does increase your accuracy for a little bit, so maybe that actually does boost the success value to 80 as opposed to 70 as written. Next up is Archer Weapon Level 2. This increases the physical and magical attack of bows, guns by 20%, so that helps you. Your DPS class. This helps you do more damage because you have higher stats. Next is Division Strategy. Oh my, ouch. Okay, this is a 60-second cooldown. It's pretty bad, with a cost of 20, which is also pretty high. This Archer exclusive ability applies Field Intercept, which nullifies the disadvantageous field effects applied to the ally field for 20 seconds. So this is blanket negative effects applied to your field. So this could be used after, let's say, a monster is played on you and your team gets really messed up. That could be really, really beneficial, but because I feel like the applications are going to be so limited, within quests, because usually you're beating those pretty quickly. And, guild battle is usually just like so rapid and just kind of like monster heavy. I don't know how much this is actually going to benefit you, coupled with the fact that the cooldown is so high is along with the cost. Like, I don't know if it's really something you're going to want to use over, let's say, more damage abilities or some other sort of support ability that you might be using more often. Next up is Archer Guard Level 1. Increases the physical and magical defense of helms, hats, armor, clothing by 20%. That's pretty great. That's an all-around boost. I will take that, especially because archers tend to be glass cannons. I don't know if it'll make them any, like, profoundly less glass cannon-y, but, like enough to notice, but something. Next up, we have Fortune Bullet. Low cooldown of 6. It's pretty good. Cost is kind of high. It's 18, not so good. This Archer exclusive ability is usable when a gun-type weapon is equipped in the main slot. It targets one enemy with an ability power of 120. It deals random physical and magic damage that penetrates any nullifying or invulnerability effects with a success value of 70, up to 10 times until it fails. So, if I understand that correctly, it's like, hey, I'm hitting once. Or, because it says up to 10 times until it fails. So I think as soon as it hits, it's just kind of like done? That's a little confusing as far as wording's confusing. Unfortunately, I haven't used this ability yet to confirm. The ability power is also pretty low, but it does do the penetration of nullifying and invulnerability, so it might make that a little better. But the cost is high. I don't know if you're actually hitting more than once. So this probably isn't your best option. I would kind of just ignore that personally. Next up, we have Raptor Beak, which has a cooldown of 7 and a cost of 15. This is usable when a bow-type weapon is equipped in the main slot, targets one enemy with an ability power of 100, deals magic damage 5 times using both physical and magical attack with a success value of 100, increases the cost recovery speed of all allies by 5 for 15 seconds, removes debuffs from all allies. So this is something that reminds me of a lot of treasure hunter abilities. It's doing a little bit of damage, but also kind of buffing your team. It's not a ton of damage, I don't think, even though it's using your more balanced stats. Just because the ability power is so low and it's not, it doesn't have the penetration of invulnerability and nullifying effects. I know I sound like a broken record, but it doesn't have that. The cost recovery speed boost is good. This is something that can give your team an edge to help them complete quests, something that can give them an edge in guild battle and other PvP situations and help them win, because really you just need to deal damage as rapidly as possible and get rid of the other team without feeding them so they can use monsters and just destroy you. It also removes debuffs from all allies. So nothing special as far as the debuffs are concerned, but, removal of debuffs isn't bad. This is a pretty good ability. The cooldown being lower and the cost not too ridiculous. This makes this something that's viable. Like, I would actually consider using Raptor Beak. Next up is Voluta's Affection, increases when elemental attack by 5 for Archer class. Nothing special. Okay. Next up is Floral Mist. Low cooldown of 5 seconds, high cost of 18. Not loving that. This is usable when a dual blade type weapon is equipped in the main slot. Targets one enemy, deals physical damage 2 times, and penetrates damage reduction and damage reflection effects with an ability power of 100 and success value of 70. It deals magic damage 2 times, that penetrates damage reduction and damage reflection effects with an ability power of 100 and success value of 70. Nullifies physical damage to self for 5 seconds with a success value of 30. Nullifies magic damage to self for 5 seconds with a success value of 30. So this has a lot of going on and would actually be really good if it wasn't usable when a dual blade type weapon was equipped in the main slot, because you're probably not going to be using dual blades because you've never used them before for this class. Also, dual blades are a little more uncommon just because they came out more recently than a lot of the other weapon types, and they're not something I feel like most people really invest in. I don't know anyone who's like, I main a ninja. So that kind of sucks, because this would have been pretty solid. I mean, like, between the chance to nullify damage and, the fact that it penetrates damage reduction and damage reflection, that's a lot of good stuff. But again, like, the fact that this is something that uses a dual blade just absolutely murders it, because you're probably not going to have those, or if you have those, not any good ones that you would actually want to use. Double Violet. Cooldown of 4 seconds, pretty good. Cost of 15, kind of median and average, so not as great. This Archer exclusive ability targets one enemy. It prevents Unison Engage, fill activation, and deals physical damage 1 time with an ability power of 140 and success value of 100. Prevents Unison Engage, fill activation, deals magic damage with an ability power of 140 and success value of 100. Applies Miasma for 10 seconds with a success value of 50. Okay, so this one hits twice is basically what it's saying, with a low ability power, like lower median ability power, and you're hitting twice guaranteed. So that's not bad. Doesn't have my, favorite stuff, my catchphrase stuff, to really get the most of that ability power, but that's okay. I do like that it prevents the Unison Engage fill activation. I mean, that's only helpful in a PvP situation because obviously monsters aren't unising against you, but that could be helpful. It does apply the miasma with the success value of 50. That's a status ailment. Not really something that's super helpful, but, I guess I'll take it. So this isn't bad, isn't great. Yeah, this one's the double violet. Okay. Master Archer's Blessing. 20% chance to nullify damage taken when, or 20% chance to nullify damage when physical damage is taken. That's pretty great. I mean, soldiers are the class that has a boost against archers, and they deal physical damage. Predominantly, I know things are changing with these 7th rings a little bit, but not a ton. So that could be helpful. Especially if you're not using nulls yet or at all. Next up, we have Drop of Time. Ability has a 30-second cooldown, so that's pretty high, not great, and a median cost of 15, so kind of meh. This Archer exclusive ability targets all allies. It activates Time Slice, which reduces a time disadvantageous, I cannot pronounce that, effects. Debuffs, special debuffs, and non-removable debuffs are applied to the target by 20 seconds. This one is just like, the cooldown is so ridiculous, and this is not something I feel like is going to apply as much as you would think, so probably not going to be as helpful. Probably kind of a situational thing that maybe you take to raid or some sort of event quest with a really difficult monster, but not really anything else outside of that. Don't really have anything else to say about that one. Then the last one up for the Archer is the X Weapon level 1, which increases the physical and magical attack of dual blades by 40%. Again, probably not going to be using dual blades because you haven't used them for the entire game up to this point. You probably don't have any good ones. I mean, all the ones I have are literally from events. So, kind of a throwaway ability here. Next up is the Cleric, and this is the last one. No, I don't want to switch this class. Just open the window. So first ability up is something called Shine Lance, which has a low cooldown of 7 seconds and a high cost of 21, of course. That's how we do it for clerics. This cleric exclusive ability targets one enemy with an ability power of 80. It deals magic damage 3 times using both magical attack and magical defense with a success value of 100. It has a healing ability power of 30. It heals the HP of all allies, excludes cooldown reduction and dual attack. So this is just absolute crap. Okay. First of all, the cost is really high. It has a low ability power. I mean, yes, it's using the stats you would probably have as a cleric if you use a more traditional build, but the ability power is so low, it doesn't have any sort of penetration ability. Like, you're probably not going to be doing a lot, especially because a lot of clerics don't invest a ton in weapons and monsters like a lot of the other classes because they're a support class. At least that's what you would do if you have a more traditional build and you're not multi-classing from a DPS class. So really crap healing ability too. Like, this is just not a good ability. It's literally a throwaway. Wow. Ouch. Clerics. Seriously. Next up we have, sorry, I just bumped my mic. Cleric Weapon level 2, which increases the magical attack of books and relics by 20%. Okay, that's beneficial. I mean, you're using books and relics, so a little boost, help you heal more, but you're probably healing way too much. As it is, usually when I do my heals, I heal above my teammate's health. If you are a battle cleric for some reason, sorry, I don't really believe in battle clerics. Sorry. This is going to help a bit, but not a ton. So there's that, I guess. Now we have Gospel Heal. This is a little better. Low cooldown of 4 seconds in the right direction. Low cost of 9. Great so far. Cleric exclusive ability, which targets one ally, removes status ailments and special status ailments, and removes debuffs, special debuffs. Okay, that's pretty good so far. Heals HP with a healing ability power of 80. Kind of meh. Recovers CP with a healing ability power of 70. CP. So I'm assuming that's cost points? I don't even know what that is. That makes me fear. I don't even know what that does. Okay, well, it seems kind of meh. I mean, there's Arc Heal, I'm just saying. I mean, Arc Heal doesn't do the special status ailments and debuffs, but I mean, it's pretty much on par with this for the most part. Next up is Cleric Guard level 2, which increases the M defense of clothing by 20%, so this is going to make you even tankier and help with your healing and abilities, so that's pretty great. Gospel Cleanse. So median cooldown, 15 seconds, high cost of 20, so not so great so far. It's usable when a relic type weapon is equipped in the main slot. Targets all allies, it removes debuffs and special debuffs, good so far, and healing ability power of 100, so pretty okay. Heals HP and recovers 30% of max CP. Okay. So pretty standard healing ability here, nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing really special. So I'm not sure if this is something you're really going to want to use just because the cost is on the higher. Again, I'm thinking maybe this is cost points. So maybe that's helpful. I wish it kind of specified and just said cost. Usually I think it says cost, so maybe it's not anything to do with cost. Let me know down below in the comments if you know what that is. I am trying to look it up as I'm talking, and it's just not there. Internet isn't cooperating, so too bad for that. Next is Gospel Recover. So median cooldown of 15 seconds, higher cost of 20, so that's not good. This is Cleric exclusive ability, is usable when a book type weapon is equipped in the main slot, targets all allies, removes status ailments. Okay. Healing ability power of 100. This seems to be pretty standard for this ring. It heals HP. Yeah, you said that already. If current HP is already maxed out, cost will be recovered by 8 instead. Recovers 30% of max CP. So maybe it is cost. This is very confusing. I really have to try out these abilities. So that's good. You can recover some cost and some people and heal them too. So this is kind of like fancy divinity, I guess, with a lower cooldown, if I'm not mistaken, and a lower cost. Or dignity. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said divinity. Not terrible, not great. Ahura Mazda's affection increases light elemental attack by 5 for the cleric class. Kind of bleh. I don't know why you would be doing light elemental attacks unless it also counts for monsters, but whatever. Pretension's conviction. Okay. So this has sorry, I bumped the table again. Low cooldown of 7, low cost of 10, and by that I mean, or non-existent cost of 0, which is pretty great. This is usable when a scythe-type weapon is equipped in the main slot, targets one enemy with an ability power of 150, deals physical damage 3 times with a success value of 100, and applies rejection for 10 seconds with a success value of 50. Damage is 25% of your max HP. Demerit cannot be used when you have less than 25% of your max HP remaining. So I always seem to pull size on my cleric, so I mean I have them, but clerics, if you're building them in more traditional support fashion, where you're meant to heal your teammates, you're probably not going to have a lot of weapon slots. You're probably not going to have size that are anywhere near as good as the books and relics you're equipping. I don't know why you would use this, especially because clerics aren't also often built in a way that would allow them to deal a lot of physical damage. Like, they invest a lot in magical attack and defense, and I just don't see this really being something that would be something you could maximize the potential of your damage output with. So basically, to put that a little more cleanly, like, you're not going to reach your full potential with this ability because you're just not built to do so most often when you're playing a cleric. So this is dumb, when on the surface it seems like it could be a little better. That's a little sad. Next up is Wedge of Judgment, which has a low cooldown of 6 and a median cost of 16. It's a cleric exclusive ability which targets one enemy with an ability power of 200, deals physical damage 2 times with a success value of 100. Applies Prohibit Unison for 10 seconds with a success value of 80. When the target is a PC, reduces the target's cost by 10 and recovers your cost by 10. So on the surface, this seems good, because I mean the ability power is high, so if you're a battle cleric, that seems good, but it's dealing physical damage 2 times with a success value of 100. You're not built to do physical damage. You are built to do magical damage, so that's a problem. The other thing, again, doesn't have my catchphrase where you're breaking through invulnerability and nullifying and all that stuff. So that could be a problem, and also reaching your full potential. I do like that this applies Prohibit Unison with a success value of 80. That's, a pretty good percentage, but with my luck, it won't work. I also like that it reduces the target's cost by 10 and recovers your cost by 10 when you're a PC, because that allows you, or when the target's a PC, because it allows you to do more to help your team, and also if you're more battle built, destroy the team, which is your goal. So pretty good. I wish the cost was a little better, but what can you do? And also that was geared a little more toward a more traditional cleric build where you're going to be doing more magical damage than physical. Next up is Pope's Blessing. Reduces damage taken from all classes by 15%. That's pretty good. Solid defense boost for the Pope. It's pretty classic. Love it. Circle Innocence. Oh gosh, the cooldown's 25. It's pretty high. Cost is 10. So not terrible, not great so far. Cleric exclusive ability targets one ally and adjacent allies, so max of 3 allies. Removes status ailments, special status ailments, or removes debuffs and special debuffs. So, that could be helpful, but you could do that with some of your new heals, a good portion of that with some of your old heals. The cooldown is a little obscene, and the fact that it's not also healing is a little problematic for me. Yeah, it's good to clear these things, but I also want to heal. I guess this could be helpful in something like Raid, where things are happening all the time, and, after certain monster and field effects take place, but I don't know if this is as helpful as it first appears on the surface. I'd really have to look into it more. And then last up is the Cleric X Weapon level 1. Increases the attack, so physical attack of lances and size by 40%. This is just another one, like I was saying with a lot of the other classes. It's just expecting you to drastically change how you've been playing in class all along, and that's just not reasonable. Clerics aren't typically built to do damage because they're a support class and they're intended to heal. So that's one strike. They're also asking for lances and scythes, and those predominantly have higher physical attack than magical, and you're building your character with books and relics up until this point because that's what you get boosts for, and those have higher magical attack than physical. So just like a complete reversal of your stats, kind of what you're designed to do. Like, this ring just doesn't seem to capture the essence of a cleric, if you will. It's kind of completely abandoning the nature of the cleric, I think the nature of the game. And I kind of want to get into that a little bit before I close, now that we've discussed all the abilities that have come out with the 7th rings. Basically, like I said, like this, addition of new weapons that your class gets boosts for seems great on a surface. It makes you a little more versatile. But again, this isn't something that you're probably going to be able to use to any great effect. Unless you are someone who spends lots of money in your game and has a lot of different weapons you can pull from and things that are, infused a lot, high cost, have good abilities, all that jazz. That's one thing. The fact that some of them are asking you to basically entirely shift your gameplay style, do a complete 180 is a little ridiculous. You've been investing and building your character a certain way, and now it's like, well, now we want to give you this other option. And it's like, well, I was doing something else. Like, I don't really have time for that. I don't think it's really going to work. I mean, maybe if you're multi-classing and you're kind of switching over from one class to a new class with like what you had before for the new class, that's beneficial, and it's a little bothersome. It's just not staying true to the nature of the game. It's not staying true to the nature of the class. I don't really like that. Like, I don't think many people like change, but this seems a little strange. I'm not liking that shift. I think that also some of the rings are definitely a lot better than some of the others. I think the cleric definitely got the short end of the stick. Like, a lot of these abilities are combat abilities, and that is not what a cleric is supposed to be doing. They're a support class. They're supposed to be healing people. They're supposed to be keeping people safe. And this ring really doesn't seem like it's designed to help a cleric keep people alive for the most part. These abilities don't really do a lot of that. I like that a lot of the classes got boosts to their traditional weapons and gear and even some nullifying things, but some of the classes, again, seem to have gotten a much better deal than some of the other, and I don't find that fair. We've always had a balancing issue with this game. I think that these rings are going to create even more of a balancing issue in some situations, and I don't really get why we're doing this again. Like, we had Archer League for a really long time. I'm kind of over it. I want to see, cleric abilities that actually help people stay alive. I want to see abilities that can do a fair amount of damage. I want to see things that kind of are cohesive and work with their traditional builds, and I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing things that are getting thrown in from left field that just don't make sense, and it's like, did you even think about what you're adding to your game here, devs? Because it really doesn't seem like you did. It doesn't seem like you did. It seems like you just created some abilities. You're like, let's make some cool animations. Let's throw them in. People will love it. It's new. It's like, no, I don't love this right now. I mean, I know this is my first impression. I haven't really had a chance to play around with things a lot, and maybe my first opinion will change as I continue to play, but like, I think this was a bad move. Not that they added new things. I think it's good that the game is trying to keep things fresh. That's not my issue. It's more so that the things that they're adding to, quote, keep the game fresh just don't make sense, and I think are going to cause some problems and make some players a little bit salty. And maybe the vast shift will be helpful for certain things, the way you have to play certain classes now if you want to take advantage of the abilities that came out in the 7th ring. But for most people, I don't think that's going to be the case, and I'm a little sad. I feel like Unison League has been declining for a bit now, and this was their chance to kind of make things better, and I don't think they took advantage of that. I'm curious to see what's going to happen over the next few weeks and what everyone else thinks of these abilities once they get a chance to play them more, and once I get a chance to experience them more as well, both as a cleric and using them as a DPS class. So there you have it. That is my review of the 7th ring abilities, just my first impressions, my initial thoughts. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. What do you think of some of the abilities you've used, if you've used them? Do you have any questions about unlocking the classes? Let me know those sorts of things. I always like to know that kind of stuff. Always like to have discussion down in my comment section. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue. Subscribe, ring that bell so you know what's up, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.